Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Not Content Podcast. My name is Jerome Cuson, joined as always by my colleague Brian. We are going to be discussing another movie from Christopher Guest. This time, we will be discussing A Mighty Wind. But before we do that, we have some baseball to talk about. Please leave a 4 or 5 star review on Apple and Spotify to get those algorithms going. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. Click the bell icon for notifications. Brian, we literally, as we are recording this, we have just witnessed Team Venezuela win the 2026 World Baseball Classic. The United States is receiving their silver medals as we speak, and they look as sullen as could be, almost like they lost a war, which is very fitting because while every other country was having an absolute blast with this tournament, the United States was treating it like a military intervention.
They try to take it too seriously, Doc. Um, Everyone was having fun. I mean, even if the Dominican lost in the semifinals 2-1 USA, they were still like having fun, scoring 10, averaging like 10 runs a game in the 5 games they played. So it was kind of a shocker because Venezuela lost to Dominican, and you're thinking like, okay, Venezuela does not have the heavy, firepower that the Dominican has. They're going
I
to
mean,
go
in
about,
terms of
as far
lineup,
as
they
they
were probably with
can.
their most powerful lineup. It was always going to be their pitching that was the problem, but it was
Right.
not. They absolutely decimated the United States lineup, and it was glorious. Aaron Judge coming. So I don't know if you remember the 2024 World Series where he made an incredible defensive botch. The captain tonight went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. Great stuff from the Judge.
Listen, I thought this would be it. He would like finally lead a team to something
Nope,
because, like, look,
I did
I
not.
I'm an anti-Yankee fan down to down to the roots of the whole Boston Red Sox rivalry in the early 2000s, right? Like I go all the way back to that. But I still don't. I'm not like against Judge himself. Like it's not like I have that animosity like I have with like Jeter and like A-Rod back in the day. So I was kind of rooting for him this time. And when he had that big reveal with the
I
jersey
wasn't.
back a month ago, I was like, oh man, he's into it. And then they got Tariq Schoolball. I think the Tariq missing the rest of the games really hurt because I think
I
he would
mean,
have been
he
perfect for
he
tonight.
he and his team decided to be bitches, and this is what happened. Like it's pretty simple. The United States should not be losing this tournament, and if they wanted to, they could throw the absolute best pitchers out there every single game, and they don't. And this is what happens. They lose in the finals for the second consecutive time. This is just what happens. And
Yeah, and I think they just had too
Miguel,
many
Miguel
power
Cabrera
hitters.
is crying right now. Miguel Cabrera crying as Venezuela has won their first WBC, and I'm really happy that they get to experience something like this with everything that's gone on with that country for a number of years, and the way that we as the United States have treated them. This is sweet, sweet. This is sweet, sweet karma, and I'm very happy that Venezuela won.
I just got to say that if this shows you because like Venezuela had that catcher from the Royals, Italy had that first baseman from the Royals, and then Bobby Witt, of course, was on Team USA, which shows you the Royals can do some damage. It's just that they can never like put it together at the right
They
time.
might win
So
the
that's
AL
just my
Central this year. The AL
observation.
Central looks really terrible this year, and there's a very real. Okay, David Ross getting the silver medal is funny. I don't know why it's funny, but it is. So Brian, we are here to talk about on this day. We are going to talk about a mighty wind. We have talked about folk music so much on this pod, and by so much I mean 2 other times. We've talked about it with Nashville. We talked about it with A Prairie Home Companion. I don't know what it is, Brian, but there's something about the way that folk music is portrayed in movies that just hits the spot. And I think A Mighty Wind is another great example of that. We get another great like relationship movie involving Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara. I do want to point out that there was a wonderful, absolutely beautiful tribute to Rob Reiner that took place at the Academy Awards on Sunday of this, as we're recording this last Sunday. It was very moving. Usually, I find the in memoriam segments to be very frustrating, but to see Billy Crystal give that tribute to Rob Reiner, to see so many cast members from his movies, including Christopher Guest and Michael McKean, those were two of the people that were there representing. This is Spinal Tap. Um, I just have to say that it was really, really lovely to see a great tribute to them and Rachel McAdams also giving love to her fellow countrywoman Catherine O'Hara. So some lovely tributes to so many of the people that we lost over the last year.
Unfortunately, I didn't have a chance to watch it. I was actually, I was in LA at the time, folks. I was actually at the AW pay-per-view, which was at the same time as the Oscars. So you can imagine the traffic was unbelievably unbearable, but we got through it. We got through the traffic. But yeah, it's I'm gonna watch it
Six and
soon.
a
I
half
just haven't had
hours
a chance.
later, you got home from the AEW pay per view.
Yes, and here's the story with the hot dog situation, folks. I don't know if you know the situation where they have to put this barrier between the building and about 100 feet. They made some kind of weird law where hot dog vendors cannot pass that 100 feet line. So they put up these barriers so everyone's running to the hot dog people. I'm one of the crazy people, folks, that takes their hot dogs home because I do not want to eat and walk. I'm not a hot dog eater that walks at the same time. So I'm one of those people. But I just got to shout that out because that's one of the highlights of every time I go to Staples Center. Sorry, Crypto Arena. I get the hot dog, but I will watch those
Ugh.
tributes. Um,
Calling it crypto arena is pretty gross.
I know, I know. I did it several times on Sunday. I kept calling it Staples, but yeah, it sucks, man. But I do want to watch the tributes, and I'm pretty sure they did a great job. And we kind of predicted what they would do anyway, because based on who's still around, like you would think that would say something or be a part of it. So that was really cool. I just want to point out, recently I picked up the Mighty Wind soundtrack, folks, at a local Goodwill, and I want to point out that it says the album, and it never strictly states that this is a soundtrack to a movie. So it's almost as if they're just releasing the CD as if it's its own thing, that the bands are real, because the song, it says songs by the Folksmen, Mitch and Mickey, and the New Main Street Singers. It does not mention the names Eugene Levy, Catherine O'Hara, none of that. So I love the fact that the CD is like kayfabe within the movie, and they just keep it kayfabe. And I'm looking at it right now, like
Good
you
for
don't
them.
see
Good
like
for them.
those names. Yeah, it says Mitch and Mickey, the Folksmen, like all the credits are to the fabricated names from the movie. So credit to the CD people that made the soundtrack. I'm gonna hold on to this for a long time, but man, I love the way they stick to the kayfabe.
This movie is wonderful. I think this is probably number two. In terms of my rankings, I think that it's a very sensitive movie. And again, I don't know what it is. It feels like there's just something about folk music that brings out the best. So the premise of this movie essentially is that a folk music producer, has passed away. His children are throwing a memorial concert, and they want to get his most famous acts together, and that's kind of what the movie does. And again, very similarly to Best in Show, we are building to kind of a big moment, right? And I think that's what makes this movie. I think that's what makes these movies sing, is when you are able to get a big moment. And I think that this movie works way better than some of Christopher Guest's other movies. This was very solid, and again, this is a movie that's also 90 minutes. It was a modest box office success, budget of $6 million. It made $18 million. So yeah, I think that this is a movie that is very, very successful. In a funny way, like this is a movie that harkens back to an episode of Saturday Night Live where Christopher Guest, Michael McKean, and Harry Shearer appeared as folksmen in an episode, and then obviously they went on to be cast members, and then of course going on to be This Is Spinal Tap. So it feels like this is a piece of that in a way.
Yeah, which is why I love the casting. Like the first time I saw the trailer, I was like, "Isn't that Spinal Tap?" And then I had to do a double check, and I realized, oh, this is a new Christopher Guest movie. It's a new concept. They're playing a different band. But if you kind of just look at the history, it's like it's just perfect casting the way that they stuck those three together. And I think there's like no other way to do it. You know what I mean? Like with those three together, casted in a movie with about music, it's like you got to put them together, right? Like it's just the natural thing to do. It's almost as if like John Travolta, right? If you have a movie with John Travolta and you have a sequence where there's dancing, you need to have John Travolta dancing in your movie if that's the case, right? Like that's just a natural thing. So it was just a perfect natural booking for that. And then because of that, you leave like, it leaves Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara that allows them to go together as like the folk couple. And then you got the big band set up for the rest of the players, and like Parker Posey has like very little to do in this movie, which is disappointing. But she's still funny in the 5 minutes she gets. You know what I'm saying? So credit to her for kind of just sticking in the background and just kind of playing along. But I think the person that really steals this movie for me is Jane Lynch and Eugene Levy, and I think they give the best two performances in this movie. And my goodness, Eugene Levy, like if you ever need to see like a visual visual definition of depression and the verge of like suicide, look at that dude's album cover.
It's
And
really
man,
great.
I
I
showed
think this
Jerome.
is.
My
I would
goodness,
agree that this is This is probably Eugene Levy's best performance in the movies that we're talking about this month.
I would agree. I would definitely agree on that because he's just so into the depression. I don't know, man. He just acts so well with his eyes in this movie
He's.
because it's like
This is a movie where he is funny, but he's not trying to be funny, and I think that's what works. That's what makes it work.
he's just naturally like one of those like depressed artists, right? Like that's the gimmick, and that depression kind of like overtakes him, and that's kind of like the way a lot of these musical artists are, and so they kind of capture that, and they kind of tie into the divorce with Catherine O'Hara, and I love the way they kind of give a background of their relationship because it's clear that like Catherine O'Hara is still in love with him, and I think that's the implication. But mentally, he just can't comprehend a normal life after all the I don't know drug use or whatnot. But that's kind of the source of
Absolutely.
his like writing, right? Like that's the source of his great writing is like this dark soul allows him to write these great folk songs. And him and Catherine O'Hara was like, I guess Catherine O'Hara
I
was
mean,
something to
that's the
like
essence of folk
keep him
music, right?
down.
Is have to be in a certain place of depression almost to
Right.
do it
Yeah.
correctly.
And Catherine O'Hara was able to like stabilize him for all those years until they separated, and then he started releasing these solo albums about killing himself,
And
which
that's a
is
trope as
yeah,
well. That's a trope in its own way.
which is actually true because I've seen some artists kind of go down that route in that kind of era. So it makes sense, and
Absolutely.
I just and it works so well. And poor Eugene Levy like had the gray hair going in this movie, and the glasses, and this tone of voice. But the way they set things up for those two is like because they build them up as like kind of like the Macho Man Miss Elizabeth, right? And what happens is with the it's kind of true because what happens is there's this big part of their act, right? The big part of their act is that they kiss at the end of their song, right? And so when they rehearse it, they don't kiss. So we're like, oh, they're not going to do the big kiss and blah blah blah. So when they start performing live, all the other performers are like, "Isn't this the song where they kiss at the end?" And then they all run to the front, like to the stage. We're like, "Oh my god, is this going to be a moment?" Because I guess it's a big moment in the history of folk music. Those two kissing on live television or something, right? Like a Beatles Ed Sullivan moment. So when it happens, it turns into this great big moment, and that's kind of like this big moment in the third act that kind of like is like the catharsis of the movie, right? Like everyone's like, oh, they did it, like they actually reunited. So it's kind of like Macho Man was coming back in '98, right? Like that's kind of the gimmick. So
I
I
mean,
saw
they
that
didn't quite
connection.
come back in the traditional way. I mean, obviously they were not romantic, but I mean, look, WrestleMania 7. It's amazing to me whenever I watch WrestleMania 7 and how emotional that Ultimate Warrior Macho Man Savage match is because like clearly like Savage did not retire, but like you still feel the emotion. It's a really strange sensation.
And that's the sensation that you kind of get in that third act, right? Like it's like, do we want to see them kiss? These people are divorced. These people are like in separate lives, but like for some reason you want to have that nostalgic moment, right? Like that was the whole point of the concert is to be nostalgic about this time that was in the '60s and '70s that have passed them by, but they're still going and they're still trying to make folk music a thing, and that's kind of the beauty of it. You know what I mean? Like despite the fact that they know they're on this local PBS channel on some live satellite and some whatever satellite they were able to hook up with, knowing it's not even like a giant audience, they're still like giving their all. So again, it's like those tiny little victories for these weird characters that Christopher Guest is able to
I
do.
mean, that's what he's. I think that's what he's best at is those small moments, and I think that gets echoed in Schitt's Creek. Like I can't help but make that connection, and that to me is what's so impressive about like Christopher Guest's legacy is that the tail on these movies, when you think about all the mockumentary stuff that's come out since with The Office, Parks and Rec, Schitt's Creek isn't a mockumentary, but I think it maintains a lot of that same tone. Like there is a very long tail on this, and I think that's what his legacy is in so many ways, and he's probably not getting the credit that he deserves for what has happened since these movies have come out.
And we talked about this, but Christopher Guest never guessed on Office, right? Like that would I think I mentioned that before. That would have been just incredible, like for that kind of connection. But
It's really weird to think about. Like I mean,
even
he
what's his
seems
name,
very
Harry Shearer and McKean, right? Like they
he
never
seems
had any roles.
very idiosyncratic, I would say. And I mean, I don't know what else you could really say. Like if you look at his credits, right? He is somebody that really doesn't do a lot of TV. I mean, his movies, like the only thing that so if you look at his movie credits, the last thing he did before Spinal Tap 2, which came out this year, was a 2016 movie called Mascots, right? And Mascots is a movie that he directed, but is has very much been forgotten. Um, I almost feel like we need to discuss this movie at some point because it's like almost out of bounds because it's a Netflix mockumentary. It's not probably associated with the other movies as much. But I think that Christopher Guest's legacy it feels like he's semi-retired at this point. It doesn't feel like he's doing a lot. Um, that's really all I could say.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate because I don't know if it's just like a one string pony or like one trick pony kind of thing. Like, is he just kind of like destined just to do only mockumentaries for the rest of his life because he's so ingrained in it? I don't know, but maybe he's just making a lot of the residuals because I know some of these movies that he's done, especially like he's got to make some residuals on Spinal Tap and Princess Bride, right? Just
I
being in
mean,
them.
the other thing is that it's hard to be funny for such a consistently long time. I mean, you look at a lot of comedians. I mean, they have a 10 to 15 year run. Like Will Ferrell's best run is behind him. Like you think about like when's the last really good Will Ferrell movie that you've seen? I think Bill Murray was able to kind of outlast that because he transitioned into doing more dramatic work. But I think if you look at a lot of comedic performers and comedic directors, actors, like it's generally a 10 to 15 year run, and that's it. And I think that's kind of what happens.
Unless you're asked Jane Lynch because she got the Glee role, right? Like that really
I
extended
mean,
her
the
limelight. But
for
I don't know.
Jane
In
Lynch,
this movie, she's good. She's just so good in this.
I think with Jane Lynch, it's a little bit different when you're a supporting character. Like Will Ferrell, I always associate him with being a lead. I think it's different when you're kind of doing the supporting role. Like Fred Willard has been able to carve out something for himself because he's never the reason that you go to see a movie. You're not going to see a movie because Fred Willard's in it, but Fred Willard is going to add something to it. And that's why he's been able to be so successful as a character actor, as somebody who is in supporting roles. And I think that's why Michael McKean has also been successful. And he's also been in some dramatic stuff. Like he was obviously in Better Call Saul, like which is much more dramatic than probably a lot of things that he's done. So I think that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, for sure. And the reason I bring up Jane Lynch in this movie is just because I think she's just so into
This is
this
this is her
role.
strong. This is her strongest, I would say.
Yeah, of the 3 or 4 movies she's done with Christopher Guest, like this is
Yeah, I
just
mean this
so
movie.
like
This is a great.
because
This
I
is
don't
a
even know how to
great
explain her
role for
character
her.
because it's like she starts a cult, but it's not a cult basically, and like
Yes,
the her deity is color, which I find fascinating. You know me in colors, so this whole thing about like a
you love
religion
your
based on
colors.
colors, yeah. And then just the other random shit like the ad libs, like it represents this and this. This symbol represents this, and this. And then of
Yeah,
course her husband goes, it also represents a penis. Just little stupid shit like that. Like just I felt like they just made up that whole cult thing
I
on the
mean, I think
fly,
I
right?
think those small moments are what make comedic movies better. That you have the opportunity to really take a step back and do these little side things. I mean, think about The Simpsons as well. Like The Simpsons, the best moments in The Simpsons episodes are those throwaway lines that become iconic, right? I mean,
Yeah, and
um,
I think they just for some reason I think I laughed more in this movie than I did Best in Show, but I think Best in Show has the best structure and kind of
I
like
would
act
agree with that.
structure.
I think this movie is actually funnier in a lot of ways, and I think it's more sensitive. But I think the structure of Best in Show is stronger. That is
And
absolutely
then so remember you told me there was a third Cusack?
yes.
Okay, so I thought she was the sister in this movie because she kind of looks like Joan Cusack, and I look it up and she's Deborah Thieker, and she's not even a Cusack. So I don't even know who this third Cusack is anymore because the Cusack that looks like a Cusack is not a Cusack. Do you get what I'm saying? She
You're
does
gonna
look
have
like
to
her.
you're gonna have to do your research.
I know, but she does look like a Cusack, and she was also in a Mighty, or she was also in Waiting for Guffman as one of those like board members as well. And I swear to God, I thought she was. Oh, that's who Jerome was talking about. That's who I thought it was this whole time. And I look it up, and it's a completely different person. So I don't know. But hey, credits are Deborah Thinker because every movie that she's in, she's like getting really emotional for no reason, and that's kind of like the joke. It's almost like those kind of jokes where you laugh at a person for being emotional at the wrong time, kind of
Yeah,
thing in a comedy. And she just nails that really well. And she's like, for even like the 5 minutes she's in both movies, she just like nails the role because she's like crying for no reason. So credit to her.
absolutely. I mean, I think this is a fine effort, and yeah. What are we doing next week, Brian? We're gonna be taking a detour on this mockumentary train.
Are we? Because I feel like we gotta do Spinal Tap, don't we? So because we
I
still haven't quite
mean,
figured out the order because
but
we're
it's
still
not
debating
Christopher
whether
Guest. The point is that we're not discussing Christopher Guest. We're going to be discussing Rob Reiner's first
even
and
though
last
Christopher, yeah,
movie.
even though Christopher Guest is in the
Like he's
movie,
in
so it's
it,
still
but he's not directing. So
yeah. So we're doing yes,
we will be
one and two.
discussing Rob Reiner's first and last movies. I mean, how unbelievable is that? I mean, it's tragic in a way, but it's also poetic that he began with Spinal Tap and ended with Spinal Tap.
You know, that's Hollywood, man. That's how stories are written to Hollywood, dude. Like it's just
I guess we're gonna have to turn the volume up to 11.
oh yes, yes, because I still haven't seen the second one, but if they do a 12 joke, then I commend them. But who knows? I still have to experience it, but I'm glad HBO has this little thing where they're just like put it back to back because like they're literally like in the recommended channel section for me right now, and they're literally like right next to each other. So I've been waiting and waiting and waiting for this. So finally, we're going to do it. It's going to be a
This is
double
your big
feature
moment.
because of the timing, and the main event will be for your consideration. That way, Catherine O'Hara gets the main event slot, and because that movie actually is kind of like a self-reflexive thing about the whole Oscar campaign thing,
Like
anyway. So
it is both a great way to end it because Catherine O'Hara is the focus, but it's also my least favorite of his movies of Christopher
because
Guest.
it's a downer ending, folks. It's more of a downer ending than the others, but we'll talk about that. But we'll focus on Spinal Tap. We already talked about the Folksmen, how great they were, and Christopher Guest doing the well gimmick, right? Like if he could do that, you know what I mean? And imagine him doing a British voice. It's just he's talented, man. He can do all these different voices an actor can do or should be doing in a comedic role like this. So I'm really excited to review these movies, especially to kind of see Harry Shearer not age in the last 40 years.
All right, so we've got a couple more weeks left here in Mockumentary March, and for Brian, I'm Jerome. Thank you so much for listening. We will talk to you again next week.